Let's unbox the Young Jedi Adventures Jedi Pilot Nubs with Starfighter vehicle made by Hasbro. Varykino. If it's Star Wars, we collect it. Hello there, thanks for visiting Varykino. This past week we got 11 new episodes from the second season of Young Jedi Adventures, the children's animated series currently airing on Disney+. I really like this show. Obviously it's intended for younger Star Wars fans, but it reminds me of the Lego Star Wars animated movies and shorts. It is really quite fun and light-hearted. I enjoy it, and I especially like the toy line from this show. I first saw it previewed last year at Star Wars Celebration held in London, and I was very intrigued. There were some really fun designs and characters that we don't have in other adult Hasbro lines. Of course, we see this High Republic Jedi Vector Starfighter, which currently doesn't exist in any other collectible format other than this toy line. So I'm really keen to open this one up and add it to my collection. I'm building a little bit of a collection of Young Jedi Adventures toys by Hasbro. They very much remind me of the old school Galactic Heroes figures. I collected a lot of them back in the day. I like some of the cuter side of Star Wars toys, like the plushies, and some of these cute figures like Nubs, the blue Pooba. He looks like an Ewok, but he's a Pooba. He's a really cool character in the show. So of course, I really wanted to add this pilot version of Nubs to my Young Jedi Adventures collection. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Coming up really soon, I'll take a closer look. We'll get this all packaged out of the box and set up. But first, let's take one last look at the packaging. The majority of Hasbro's tie-in toy line was released last year to coincide with the launch of Young Jedi Adventures Season 1 on Disney+, and that happened to coincide with Hasbro's plastic-free packaging initiative, which was short-lived, but for the most part, almost all of the toys from this line are in plastic-free packaging. And as you can see, we don't have a window for this. I know that's fairly typical for starships and things that need assembling, so it's not really a bother to me. And I really like the large printed graphic here of Jedi Pilot Nubs in his Jedi Vector starship. It looks really bright and vibrant, really cool. We've got the bright yellow Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures logo here in the corner, and we have a little bit of an insert shot showing the toys themselves. We can see Nubs comes with a lightsaber and a helmet and the starship there, and we can see, interestingly, this item is just called Jedi Pilot Nubs. It doesn't actually mention the Starfighter, obviously very largely pictured there on the front, which I think is kind of interesting there. We can see that this was also intended for ages 3 and up, so not really aimed at adult collectors, but as I mentioned earlier, it is quite unique being a Star Wars starship that doesn't exist in any other toy format other than in this line. So as a fan of Star Wars starships and of the animated series, I'm really excited about this one, and I just love that bright and colorful art there on the front. Down the side, we have a nice promo artwork there of all of the main characters from the show. Lys Soleil, Nubs, Master Yoda, Nash Durango, Kai Brightstar, and RJ83, the very cute little droid. We have the Disney logo there at the bottom and the Young Jedi Adventures logo here at the top. Moving on to the back of the box, and we've got this really nice large graphic showing us some of the features here. The wings pop out. We can see that sort of movement there, and we can do that by pressing the button here on the back as indicated. When the wings are fully extended, the graphic shows that they are going to measure 11 inches wide, or 27 centimeters for us here in New Zealand. That's really quite big. I'm very excited to get that all fully assembled. We can see that Kai Brightstar and his Vector Starfighter were also available, but if you've watched the show, you know that the three younglings, Nubs, Kai, and Lys, all fly their starfighters together, and Lys has a purple one, and I'm kind of sad that she was not featured in this line. There is no purple Vector Starfighter with Lys figure, and I have a little bit of a theory for that. If I take a look at the Lys figure that came with the speeder bike, she can see that she has her helmet on and her hair extends out the sides. Taking a closer look at Nubs pictured here in the cockpit, I have a feeling her hair might just not fit in the size of the cockpit that Hasbro sculpted for the other two figures, and they simply tried to avoid the awkwardness of trying to fit this figure in there, so they simply didn't make one. I've got this one on hand, and I'm very keen to actually test her in the cockpit of this particular one to see if my theory is correct. But I'm still a little bit sad that there is no third one with the purple markings for this, because I think she's a great character, and the three of them go on adventures together. It seems a little bit of a shame to not include her in the specific Starfighter toy line. But anyway, on to the rest of the packaging. The rest of it is sort of copyright, each sold separately, all of that kind of stuff. The underside barcode and that plastic-free packaging marking there. Now on this side, we can see the included Nubs figure shown in 1:1 scale. He measures 2.7 inches tall, or 6.87 centimeters, and we can see he's got his pilot helmet there. Now I have a standard version of the Nubs figure here on hand, and you can see that it is a good and true likeness in terms of the scale. We can see he is a little bit different. He doesn't seem to come with his Jedi cape that the standard figure comes, though the front of the box does show him with a lightsaber, so I am expecting to see that one inside the box, even though it's not pictured here. But of course the big difference is the fact that he has a helmet, whereas the standard figure does not. So if you like collecting up figures, or you are a Nubs collector, the figures will be different to the standard line. So I'm very excited to open these ones up and actually get them side by side to compare the two. At the top of the box, we just have that same artwork from the front wrapping round to the top, and again we have that vibrant yellow Young Jedi Adventures logo there on the top. All in all, it's quite a big box. It's not too heavy, but I'm really excited to finally get all of the pieces out so I can assemble up my Vector Starfighter and check out that unique Nubs figure there as well. So let's get opening. So I'm going to open up the box with the tape here. Interestingly, there's just one piece of sellotape on either end, so you can choose which side. I'm just choosing this one to cut through. So let's get stuck in. I'm excited. Always fun checking out Star Wars toys, especially if they've been a little bit hidden inside a box. So it's your first time getting a proper look. So we've got a cardboard tray inside. Let's pull this out. And we can see the Starfighter there packaged in its cardboard tray. So I can get that big box out of the way. I'll just pop that there in the back, and I'm expecting this little paper parcel here to contain the Nubs figure as well. So I thought I would actually have to clip on some wings, but it looks like it is actually all assembled. When it came to the Crimson Firehawk starship from the same toy line, there was a lot of assembly, and I was expecting the same sort of thing here. So I'm kind of curious. This looks cool. Bright colors. I love the blue here. I was really hoping that there would just be like some really nice clean paint lines. The striking blue. We've obviously got some really strong, that sort of cardboard twisty ties sort of wound around everything. That's going to take a little bit of time to cut those out. And of course we've got the paper there for the figure. So let's get started unboxing all of this, because this is exciting. We've got a small little booklet, but of course this doesn't include any lights or sounds, so there's no sort of real safety issues about batteries or anything like that. So I'm just going to go through and cut these from the back, and sometimes these cords can be really stiff to try and cut through. My little unboxing scissors sometimes have a bit of a struggle with these ones. I'll try this one first. There we go, got that one, and cut this one through. I do like their sort of initiative where they weren't using plastic or anything like that, but I'm kind of glad it's over. I think these ones would have been really fun if they had had a window packaging style. So let's see if I can get this out. It's all kind of wound in there, very secure. And we'll get this one undone as well. How well is that going to? Okay, we've got this part. Wow, that's really wrapped around that engine there. Trying to get that one, came out nicely. Might need to just snip a little bit more on this one. Just to kind of hold it here from the front so it doesn't fall suddenly, because I don't want to ruin it. Okay, I'll just have to balance that there so I can get this cord in the back. There we go. So I can get that one out. Wow, that's really tightly wound in there. Of course, I'm always just like a little bit worried also about toys where I can't see them in person, to make sure that nothing's broken. but this looks good. It's just really securely. This one's twisted around the engine in a way that the other side wasn't. So I'm still trying to get this one out. There we go. Okay, getting there. I wonder how well small children would deal with these unpackaging. I think they'd need an adult to help. Okay, so I can feel that the wings have a flex to it. Obviously that is a safety precaution because kids want to fly these around their living room. I'm just going to put this down. Feels really nice to hold, I have to say. That's really cool. Okay, and now we've got the little Nubs figure tucked in here. Just get that one out. He's gonna have to, I think I might have to cut this cardboard strip to get him out as well. So let's get in there very carefully with the scissors. There we go. Okay, so that's everything out of the main tray. So let's open up the little Nubs figure. Okay, and yes, there is his lightsaber there as well. So he comes with a lightsaber and he has a helmet. So the helmet is permanently sort of attached on him, but it is a separate piece that is fitting over him. You can see the way that it is fitting over his ears, which is really quite clever. I thought it might be sort of just fully sculpted as a separate sort of head, different to the other versions of the figures. And as I suspected, he doesn't have his Jedi cape, but he does still have the peg hole. So for the most part, it is the same figure, but we just have this extra helmet, which is not really designed to be taken off. I guess if you were really industrious, you could probably cut it off and then he would look the same, but it is a unique piece and it's kind of part of the fun of this particular set that he is different. And of course you want your Jedi pilots to be wearing their helmets when sitting in their starfighters. Now they have minimal articulation. Of course the humanoid characters have more articulation in the legs. Nubs is a very short pooba, so he doesn't have any movement in his legs, but he does have articulated arms. We can see there at the shoulders and at the hands, so you can rotate them around, and of course the head can turn as well there. I do find the hands are pretty good about holding the lightsabers. We can see we just have a plain silver hilt painted on the translucent plastic for the blade, and of course they have training sabers in the show, so they have shorter lightsabers than their adult Jedi counterparts there, but we can see he holds that really nicely and we can get some cool poses there. He doesn't really need his lightsaber if he's going to be sitting in the cockpit, but of course he needs to be able to sort of get out and go on some Jedi adventures. So I like that he still includes the lightsaber, especially important if you don't already have a Nubs action figure from one of the other toy packs there. So he's really cute. Just missing his cape, that's the only sort of real difference there, because of course we're not going to see that pig when he's sitting in the starship. So let's clear this packaging out of the way so we can actually get Nubs in his Vector Starfighter. So now I can finally check out all of the details on Nubs's Jedi Vector Starship toy by Hasbro, and this is really fun to hold. It is lighter than the sort of average Star Wars vehicles by Hasbro, but when I think about young Star Wars fans sort of flying this around their bedroom or the living room, it's got a good weight to it for younger fans. It's not too heavy. I am kind of curious that this is not rubbery. I was honestly expecting these sort of front laser cannons to be a little bit more bendy. They are actually more rigid than I was expecting. Often sort of small protruding parts of toys for a younger age demographic end up being quite rubbery. I'm glad that these are actually a little bit more rigid. Of course we've got this rounded cap, so it's not going to cause injury if they happen to fly into a sibling or something else there. Of course the main feature on this one is the folding wings. We'll get to that part in a minute, but of course there are some details that are different or perhaps inaccurate to the show and the original design of the ship. I like how they've kind of kept it simple in terms of moving parts. We don't have a fully enclosed cockpit here. Of course we can't close anything here. There's no hinge or any other components here. There is very minimal paint work. We just have this very vibrant blue paint job, which is different to Kai's one. Kai's starship has a green paintwork job that is very different, so I like that. And of course, we don't have much in the way of paintwork on the inside. We have a plain white sort of cockpit controls in here and a blue plastic interior. I do think they've done a pretty good job of getting a good matching blue plastic here for the seat to match the blue of the paintwork on the ship. The paintwork is all really nice and tidy. We can see those sharp lines there on the wings there and around the front. Really nice paint application. Always something I like to check if I can with packaging with windows. Of course, you couldn't see in this one, so I was just picking blindly from my store shelf there, but I'm really happy with the way this one looks. Nothing's broken. I love the crisp whiteness of this one as well. Looking at it up close in person, I can see a few parts that are slightly different plastics. So the wings are a slightly different white plastic to the main body of the ship, and these front sections here where it joins here, this is a different plastic to this. So there is just the tiniest difference in whites, and you might be able to see here the difference between this white and this white. So if I gently flex these wings, you can see that they have a little bit more flex. This part, the main body, is a very robust hard plastic. I feel like that would be brittle if you tried to sort of really hit it, whereas these have a flex. So if kids accidentally knock into these, they are just going to flex rather than break, which of course is really useful. So it mentioned on the back that the wings can move, and as you saw when it was open in the box, the wings were extended. So I'm just going to look at the underside and take a look at that mechanism there. So we can see there's a lot of screws attaching everything. There is no paint application on the underside here. We do have two landing gear permanently attached. We can see they're inserted there. They don't remove. We don't have any battery compartments or anything like that, so you don't need to worry about batteries with young children there as well. We can see that these parts are actually sort of not fully sculpted. They have that kind of cutouts on the underside to reduce bulk and weight there as well. Overall, looks pretty cool. We've still got some sculpting lines there. It's not completely blank on the underside. Looks a little bit like a flying bug when I turn it upside down, doesn't it? So I'm going to check out the mechanism of these wings. So I'm hoping they just click into place with a very gentle push there, and they click into place there. So we can see that on the back here we have a button with the Jedi Order logo on it, and it is kind of interesting that it is a different plastic blue to the plastic of the interior. They are very close together, but this is a slightly different blue. I don't mind it. It would be kind of interesting if it was the same dark blue as this, but I can feel that this is a different plastic, so I guess they've just gone with a blue plastic there. So this is the button that I'm going to press. We'll get a little bit of clearing and we'll check out the feature. That's pretty cool. That popped out really nicely. That was a nice easy button. Of course, pressing the button is not going to wind them back. This is a very simple mechanism, and I have heard some people say that you do need to be a little bit careful that if you're flying around the room, if you knock these parts into something, they can be knocked off and you need to kind of reattach them. But for me, that's not going to be too much of an issue, but this is just fun. That's just really cool. You know, it kind of reminds me of sort of the old school X-Wings. We'd sort of push down on the astromech and sort of open up the X-Wings wings there to really pop it out. So there's a cool play feature there for young children. Very easy. You kind of want to naturally hold the starship on the back here. So of course your thumb's going to rest on that. And of course, I'm not that strong, but I'm probably stronger than the average 4-year-old. This is very easy to hold and sort of fly around. So we've got just a bit of detail there on the front, which we can see matches on the box there. Overall, this is just really fun. I know it's not going to look like a Star Wars ship if I put it next to a Star Wars Hasbro Vintage Collection X-Wing with all of that weathering and fine detail, but considering we don't have this Star Wars ship in any other format, I think it's really fun. It feels but more like a proper collectible compared to some of the vehicles that came out in some of the other kid lines, like the Galactic Heroes. They were sort of very small, very chunky, kind of cartoony. I think if you were a really sort of skilled artist, you could probably paint this up and make it look a little bit more in-world. It's got a good scale to it, and I think the details don't look too sort of cartoon. They're obviously stylized, but when I think about, you know, little Nubs here, he is very stylized. He's a very cute little Ewok-esque blue pooba. and I think that it's really fun that they haven't gone too sort of cartoony, sort of bubble shaped sort of styles for the vehicle toy lines, because of course the starships in the show do actually fit very well in the Star Wars universe. They follow the animation style, but they are very detailed, they're weathered, they look like designs that could be taken from other places. So I think this is a really cool ship, and I'm actually really quite surprised that it was fully intact in the box. I thought after unboxing the Crimson Firehawk that I would have to be assembling this one. So I'm really happy that it just pops out of the box ready to go. So of course, now that I've gone over the starship itself, let's get Nubs inside. So to do that, I'm just going to pop his lightsaber out of his hand. They do hold their accessories very well. So I'm just going to pop his arms sort of up in a bit of a cockpit pose there. I can't move his legs, so he's just going to sit in here a little bit. Because of where his ears are, he kind of wants to sit a little bit back. And of course the seat is sloped, so I can't stand him here. He kind of naturally wants to slide in there a little bit, like we can see on the pictures. So his hands are a little big. They're going to sit not really where the controls are. I could potentially sort of squeeze them in there a little bit, but I think he looks really cute in there. And his ears don't actually really hit. If I pose him in the middle, his ears just have a little bit of clearance there. Of course, they are extending, so I can see why we don't have a closing cockpit. It just wouldn't work. The whole toy would have to be scaled up larger, and I think these were a pretty affordable price here in New Zealand for a large Star Wars Starship vehicle. Of course, when you're thinking about toy lines for younger fans, you can't really get into the hundreds of dollars that you can with adult collectors. So of course, they're trying to keep it affordable, and this is a pretty large Star Wars vehicle for the price point, and I think that that looks really cute. And of course, now I can fly Nubs in his Jedi Vector Starship. That looks really cool. So now, having checked out how Nubs looks in this cockpit, now I really have to answer my own question and see whether Liz fits in there with her helmet. Was it the helmet and her hair that stops her from having her own starfighter? So I'm going to get her. We can see that the sort of humanoid characters can bend at the waist. They are quite small through the torso. And I'm going to see, she fits. She fits. Oh, that's a little bit of a shame, because I don't know why they didn't include Liz in the range of starfighter vehicles from this toy line, but she fits perhaps even better than Nubs. She kind of almost rattles around, and I can move her hands to be more down by the cockpit. Her hair is a little bit wide, and she potentially wouldn't fit if this had a full canopy over the top, but she fits in there perfectly fine. I thought maybe it was her hair that they stopped sort of making this one. Maybe Hasbro thought that female fans of the show wouldn't want a starfighter for Liz. She is very enamored with creatures of the Star Wars galaxy in the show, and it's kind of a shame that we don't have a range of creatures from this particular toy line by Hasbro. Fingers crossed, maybe for season 2 we'll see some creatures being added to this toy line. But as it stands, this helmeted version of Liz comes with a speeder bike. She doesn't have her own Jedi Starfighter, so her only vehicle from the toy line is a speeder bike, which is a shame because she rides lots of different creatures in the show. So I really wish that we could have a creature. I know it would be a little bit tricky because, as you can see, their legs don't open, but I'm thinking of sort of the old school Lego horses where you just kind of insert their legs into the back a little bit. Maybe there's a way of doing it. There are so many creatures in this show. I really hope to see more toys from Hasbro for this show. Of course, with the second season starting to be released on Disney+, they're going to be leading into the Christmas shopping toy season. Who knows, maybe we'll see some more. But yes, I am a little bit sad that there isn't a matching third Jedi Vector Starship for Liz, so she's going to have to go on her speeder bike for now. But in terms of comparisons, now I can finally compare these two together in person, because this is the standard one that came in a number of formats. You could buy Nubs by himself. There were a couple of multi-packs, and now I can see that these really are the same figure, just with that difference of this one having the cape and this one having the helmet sort of attached on over the top. Not really an accessory that's designed to be removed. It is very sturdy. It's got some really good paint work on there. But in terms of the actual figure, the sculpting, the expression, the hands, all of that kind of stuff, it is the same. And in terms of talking about the characters, if you have watched the show, you know that they get their mission robes, different outfits for when they leave Tanu to go on missions in the second season. So that just seems like the perfect opportunity for Hasbro to release more toys for this toy line with their updated robes. You know, just a little bit of sort of extra detail there. I really like Nubs's mission robes. He's got some extra tabards, got that beautiful High Republic era gold detailing. Because of course, as it stands, there is very little in the way of physical collectibles from the High Republic era. We have some of the newly released Black Series 6-inch figures from the Acolyte series and this toy line, which is generally mostly intended for children, but I know High Republic fans like myself, this is one of the only ways to get some High Republic stuff. And I really do like the style of the whole High Republic Jedi robes and stuff like that. So there we go. If you are a fan of Nubs or the show in general, this is such a great toy. It is big, it is fun. I like the bright white. It just popped out of the box all complete. That was a surprise. Really fun. And I like that it's got a simple but effective little action feature there with those wings popping out. There we go. So I'm just going to pop Nubs back in his cockpit there. He looks great. I'll pop this one off to the side. There is just that one element there of not really having a spot to put his lightsaber. Sometimes with, say, Lego things, they've got like a little compartment where you can sort of clip some things. Nothing on this opens to the inside. So if you're going to put him in there, you can kind of see there is just a nice solid wall in here. So if I want to put the lightsaber in the cockpit, it's not going to completely disappear into the internal cavity there of the ship. It's just going to sort of sit there. So I can put Nubs and he can kind of just have his lightsaber next to him because I don't want to lose that very cute accessory. All in all, a fantastic toy. Now, I mentioned that I have unboxed the Crimson Firehawk, and that is a large ship from the show. Now I'm really keen to see those two side by side. For comparison, here are the 3 vehicle types available in Hasbro's toy line from Young Jedi Adventures. Of course, we just opened the Vector Starfighter. There are 2 of them. One that is white and blue for Nubs. The other one is white and green for Kai. Sadly, Liz does not have her own Starfighter vehicle in this line. She does have 2 different speeder bikes in this line. There are actually 7 in total. There are a couple of different coloring options, different repacks and things like that. So there are quite a variety of speeder bikes and they are quite fun. They have wheels so they roll. There are lots of different characters in there and all of the figures do have helmets. There's a part of me that thinks that Hasbro is trying to teach kids to wear their helmets when on their bicycles. And of course, last but not least, we have the very large Crimson Firehawk starship piloted by Nash Durango and her droid RJ-83. This one was huge. Sadly, this one was never available in New Zealand. I had to import this one from overseas. It was a huge box. It did require assembly, but it is fantastic. And because it's featured so prominently in the show, if you are collecting from this toy line, I do think this one is an essential part of any fan's collection. But I'm really happy to finally have a Vector starship for my collection. We do see them in quite a few episodes, so I do think they are important if you want to collect this toy line. And while I was getting these other vehicles out of my storage, I did of course come across the Nubs with a speeder bike. We can see that the speeder bike is blue to match Nubs, different from Liz's here, but of course I forgot that the included Nubs figure did include a helmet. So I just want to do a little bit of a quick comparison because I believe, yes, they are the same figure. So if you have the speeder bike with Nubs, you're going to have the same figure as the one that came with the Starfighter there. So we do have a few different options of getting some of the characters. This one was cheaper, obviously much smaller packaging, but yeah, so if you don't have this one, you're not missing out if you are filling out your Nubs collection. So there, such a fantastic toy line. These are pretty big toys. You can see see by the scale of my hand, this one is actually hard to sort of pick up and fly around, not like this one. This one, I can see how kids would pick this one up, fly around with their favorite characters. This one is very big. It's a big two-handed thing and it takes up a lot of display space, but I think it's absolutely fantastic. The Crimson Firehawk does actually get some changes and a repaint job in the second season, so I'm wondering if Hasbro is going to take the opportunity to re-release this toy with perhaps the updated differences for season 2. I'm still waiting for Hasbro to announce more toys from this toy line, perhaps as we get closer to Christmas and with further episodes from season 2. We sort of have about half of the season 2 episodes available on Disney Plus at this point in time. I'm really looking forward to the next ones. Of course, it is an animated show for younger Star Wars fans, but as an adult fan, I really enjoy it. It's lighthearted, it's fun, we've got some fantastic characters, and there are a lot of Easter eggs that more seasoned Star Wars fans will pick up on that perhaps the younger fans won't be as familiar with. Lots of familiar Star Wars planets and alien species, and some really cute characters as well. So if you like the creatures of Star Wars like Tauntauns and Banthas, there's definitely some really cute and unique characters in that show there as well. So there we go, a little bit of my collection so far from the Hasbro toy line from Young Jedi Adventures. This was just a surprise. I absolutely love it. I was a little bit anxious. I would be assembling all of the pieces. Of course, I couldn't see through the cardboard, so I was a little bit worried about paint jobs or anything broken, but it was really great. I love that little action feature, and I think Nubs looks really happy and cute sitting in the cockpit there. It does take up a lot of space. I'm probably going to display it with the wings folded back, but it looks really great alongside my other vehicles from this toy line. So there you go. That was Jedi pilot Nubs with his Vector Starfighter from Hasbro's toy line from the Young Jedi Adventures animated series. This was a lot of fun and I think it's a really cute toy. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today as I opened up another Star Wars collectible and had a lot of fun checking it out. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon or evening wherever you are in the galaxy, and let's hang out again very soon for more Star Wars fun. May the Force be with you. If you're a Young Jedi Adventures fan, I've also unboxed the Crimson Firehawk vehicle. That video is linked here in case you haven't already seen it, as well as a whole Young Jedi Adventures toy playlist. This is the way.